The Awakening. In a dark future, the Earth was not the same. Cities lay in ruins, and a heavy silence filled the air. Once vibrant streets were now empty, haunted by the memories of a time when humans lived in peace. War had broken out between humans and aliens, and trust had vanished. People feared each other, and survival was the only thing that mattered. In this broken world lived a man named Leo. He was known as the Carnivorous Human. Leo was not like others. He had a reputation for being tough and strong. He knew how to survive in the wild, finding food and shelter where others would give up. He had lost his family to the chaos and had learned to fend for himself. Leo walked alone, always on guard, his senses sharp. He was a survivor, but deep down, he felt a deep loneliness. One day, while searching for food, Leo wandered into an old, abandoned building. The windows were shattered, and the walls were covered in graffiti. As he moved cautiously through the debris, he heard a soft sound, a faint cry for help. His heart raced. He knew he should be careful. Many people had fallen into traps set by desperate humans and aliens alike, but something pulled him toward the sound. As he approached, Leo saw a young alien girl hiding in a corner. She had green skin and large, frightened eyes. Her clothes were torn, and she looked lost and scared. Leo felt a rush of emotions, fear, curiosity, and a strange desire to help her. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice softening. The girl looked up, her eyes wide with fear. She shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "They're coming for me," she whispered. "Please, you have to help me." Leo's instincts kicked in. He knew that saving her could put his own life at risk, but he couldn't just walk away. He had seen too much suffering, and for the first time in years, he felt a spark of hope. "I'll help you," he promised, "but we have to be quick." As they moved quietly through the building, Leo could hear distant footsteps approaching. The girl's breathing quickened, and Leo felt her fear. He had faced many dangers before, but this felt different. For the first time, he was fighting for someone else, not just for himself. They slipped out of the building just as a group of armed humans entered, looking for the girl. Leo pulled her behind a large dumpster, his heart pounding in his chest. "Stay quiet," he whispered. He watched as the men searched the area, their voices harsh and threatening. They were ruthless, ready to capture anyone who crossed their path. After what felt like an eternity, the men finally left, cursing and angry. Leo breathed a sigh of relief. "We're safe for now," he said, turning to the girl. "What's your name?" "Zara," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for helping me." Leo nodded. "I'll do my best to keep you safe, Zara. We need to find a place where we can hide." As they began to move, Leo realized that this encounter was more than just a chance meeting. It was the beginning of something new. He felt a connection with Zara, a bond that gave him strength. Together, they would face whatever dangers lay ahead. And for the first time in a long while, Leo felt a flicker of hope in his heart. The encounter. Leo and Zara moved through the shadows of the broken city, their footsteps soft against the cracked pavement. Leo kept his eyes open for any signs of danger. The air was heavy with tension, and the silence was almost deafening. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly. As they turned a corner, they stumbled upon a small park that had once been a beautiful place. Now it was overgrown with weeds, and the playground was rusted and abandoned. Leo paused, feeling a sense of loss for what had been. This park had once been filled with laughter, but now it felt like a ghost of the past. Zara noticed Leo's expression and asked softly, "What's wrong?" Leo shook his head, just thinking about how different things used to be. It's hard to believe that a place like this could be so empty. Zara looked around and nodded. "I remember parks like this on my planet. They were beautiful. We would play and run until the sun went down." Leo smiled slightly, his heart warming at her words. "Do you miss it?" "Every day," she replied, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "But I have to focus on staying alive now." As they rested for a moment, Leo realized that Zara was more than just a scared girl. She had strength within her, a determination to survive. He admired her spirit, and it reminded him of himself before the world fell apart. Suddenly, a loud noise broke the silence. Leo's instincts kicked in. "We need to move," he whispered urgently. They hurried behind a large tree, hiding as best they could. From their hiding spot, they watched as a group of men entered the park. They wore uniforms and carried weapons, their faces hardened by the harsh world around them. Leo recognized them as members of a gang that had been terrorizing both humans and aliens. "What do they want?" Zara asked, her voice trembling. "They're looking for you," Leo said, clenching his fists. "We have to find a way out of here." As the men searched the area, Leo scanned the park for an escape route. He noticed a narrow path leading to a dense area of trees on the other side of the park. "Follow me," he said, gesturing for Zara to stay close. They crept along the edge of the park, moving silently between the trees. Leo's heart raced as they neared the path. Suddenly, one of the men shouted, "Hey, over there!" Panic surged through Leo. "Run," he yelled. They bolted down the path, their hearts pounding in their chests. The men chased after them, shouting and cursing. As they ran, Leo could hear the footsteps getting closer. He pushed Zara to keep up, her legs moving as fast as they could. The forest around them grew thicker, branches scratching at their skin, but they had no time to slow down. They finally reached a small creek, and Leo quickly scanned the area. "We need to hide," he said, pulling Zara behind a large bush. They crouched low, breathing heavily as the sounds of their pursuers grew louder. Leo's mind raced. They had escaped for now, but he knew they couldn't rest for long. "We'll need to come up with a plan," he said, glancing at Zara. Zara nodded, her eyes wide with fear. "What do we do next?" Leo took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. "We fight back. I won't let them take you. Together, we'll find a way to save the others." In that moment, as they hid in the shadows, Leo felt a new sense of purpose. He wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. He was fighting for Zara, and for the hope of a better future. The Alliance. As they crouched behind the bush, Leo's heart raced. The men searching for Zara had gone quiet, but the danger still felt close. He could still hear the rustling of leaves and the distant sounds of footsteps. They had to act quickly. "We need to find a safer place," Leo said, glancing at Zara. "Somewhere we can think and plan our next move." Zara nodded, her eyes scanning the trees around them. "There's a cave a little further up the creek. It's hidden and should keep us safe." "Lead the way," Leo replied, feeling a sense of trust growing between them. They moved cautiously, sticking to the shadows as they made their way along the creek. The cool water babbled gently, but the sound only reminded Leo of how tense the situation was. After a short walk, they reached the cave. It was small, but it offered shelter from prying eyes. Leo stepped inside, letting Zara go first. The inside was dark and damp, but it felt like a safe haven. They both took a moment to catch their breath, their hearts slowly returning to a normal rhythm. "Thank you for saving me," Zara said softly, her voice echoing slightly in the cave. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Leo shrugged, trying to play it cool. "I couldn't just leave you. It's not right." He paused, looking at her with newfound determination. "We need to work together. If we want to save the other girls, we need a plan." Zara's eyes lit up with hope. "Yes, I know a few things about the enemy camp. I've seen their routines and where they keep the captives. I can help you." "That's great," Leo replied, feeling a rush of excitement. "But we'll need to be careful. If they catch us, we won't get a second chance." Zara nodded. "I understand. I've seen how they work. They are ruthless, but they also underestimate us. They think we are weak because we are aliens." Leo smiled, feeling a spark of confidence. Then we'll show them how strong we really are. Together, we can outsmart them. They sat together in the cave, sharing ideas and forming a plan. Leo suggested creating distractions to lure the guards away from their posts, while Zara provided valuable insights about the layout of the camp. She spoke of blind spots and times when the guards changed shifts. "I've seen them take breaks near the east side of the camp," Zara explained. "If we time it right, we can sneak in while they're away." Leo nodded, impressed by her knowledge. "That's perfect. We can use the chaos to rescue the others." As they continued to talk, Leo felt a bond growing between them. He realized that Zara was not just a girl in trouble. She was a partner. They were both fighting for their lives, but they were also fighting for something greater: the chance to save others like her. "Let's rest for a bit," Leo suggested, glancing outside the cave. "We need our strength for what's to come." Zara agreed, and they settled against the cool cave wall. As they rested, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone in this fight. For the first time, he had a purpose beyond his own survival. He felt a surge of hope. With Zara by his side, they could take on the world. "Tomorrow, we will start our mission," Leo said, determination in his voice. "We will rescue those girls and show everyone that humans and aliens can work together." Zara smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Together, we will succeed." As the night deepened, they closed their eyes, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. They were no longer just two lost souls. They were an alliance, united by a common goal. Tomorrow would bring new dangers, but they were prepared to fight for each other and for the hope of a better future. The heist. The morning light filtered through the trees, casting a soft glow on the forest floor. Leo and Zara emerged from the cave, ready to begin their mission. They had spent the night planning and preparing, and now they felt a mix of excitement and fear. Today was the day they would attempt to rescue the captured girls. "Are you ready?" Leo asked, glancing at Zara. Zara took a deep breath, her eyes filled with determination. "Yes, we can do this." Together, they moved stealthily through the forest toward the enemy camp. The path was narrow and overgrown, but Leo's instincts kept them alert. As they approached, they could see the camp, a series of tents surrounded by high walls. Guards patrolled the area, their eyes scanning for any signs of trouble. "Remember, we need to create a distraction first," Leo whispered, pointing to a pile of old crates near the edge of the camp. "If we can set those on fire, it should draw the guards away from the entrance." Zara nodded, her heart racing. "I'll go gather some dry leaves and sticks to help start the fire." "Be careful," Leo warned, watching as she slipped away into the trees. He couldn't shake off the worry for her safety, but he knew they needed to work together to succeed. Zara returned a few minutes later, her arms full of dry materials. "I found enough to make a big fire," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. "Great," Leo said, taking the materials from her. "Now, let's find a good spot." They moved closer to the crates, keeping an eye on the guards. Leo quickly arranged the leaves and sticks, and with a small spark from a flint, they started a fire. The flames grew quickly, licking at the air, and soon the crackling sound filled the camp. "Now," Leo said, as he and Zara hid behind a nearby tree. The guards rushed toward the source of the smoke, shouting at each other in confusion. "What's happening?" one of them yelled. "Put it out." As the guards focused on the fire, Leo seized the opportunity. "Let's go," he urged Zara, and they dashed toward the camp. They moved quietly between the tents, staying low to avoid being seen. Leo's heart pounded in his chest as they approached the main tent, where the captured girls were likely held. He remembered Zara's descriptions of the camp layout and felt confident. "Over here," Zara whispered, pointing to a small opening at the back of the main tent. "This should lead us inside." They slipped through the opening, and the inside was dark and cramped. Leo's eyes adjusted quickly, and he could see a row of cages along the wall. Inside, several frightened alien girls were huddled together. "Zara," one of them gasped, her eyes wide with shock. "You're alive." Zara rushed to the cage, her heart soaring. "I'm here to rescue you." She turned to Leo, her voice urgent. "We need to get them out." Leo quickly inspected the cage locks. "These are old. I might be able to pick them," he said, pulling out a small tool he had kept for emergencies. As he worked, Zara comforted the girls, reassuring them that they were safe now. Leo's hands moved quickly, and with a soft click, the first cage opened. The girls gasped, eyes wide with disbelief. "Thank you. Thank you." One of the girls cried as she stepped out, her body shaking with fear and relief. "Stay quiet and follow us," Leo said, glancing nervously toward the entrance. "We need to move fast." One by one, they freed the girls, each one filled with hope as they realized they were being rescued. Just as the last cage opened, a loud voice shouted from outside, "What's going on in there?" Leo's heart dropped. "We're out of time. Everyone, follow us." He led the girls toward the back of the tent, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Zara stayed close to him, her eyes filled with determination. Together, they dashed out into the chaos of the camp, ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. They had done the impossible, but now they had to escape before it was too late. The rescue. Leo and Zara led the group of rescued girls through the camp, their hearts pounding with fear and excitement. They could hear the shouts of the guards growing louder, echoing through the chaos. The fire they had started had spread, and the camp was in disarray. "Quick, this way," Leo urged, steering the girls toward a thick line of trees at the edge of the camp. He could see the panic on the faces of the guards as they rushed to put out the fire and search for the escaped captives. As they neared the trees, Leo glanced back to see a group of guards running toward them, weapons drawn. "Hurry," he shouted, urging everyone to pick up their pace. Zara and the girls followed closely, their legs pumping as adrenaline coursed through their veins. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the air as a guard fired his weapon. A bullet whizzed past Leo's head, barely missing him. "We need cover," he yelled, pulling Zara and the girls behind a large tree. They crouched down, hearts racing. "We can't stay here," Zara whispered urgently. "They'll find us." Leo's mind raced as he tried to think of a way out. "If we can reach the creek, we can hide in the water. They won't be able to see us there." "Then let's go," Zara replied, determination shining in her eyes. "We can make it." Leo nodded, and they all prepared to make a run for it. As soon as the guards turned their attention back to the fire, Leo shouted, "Now, run." They dashed toward the creek, the sound of rushing water growing louder in their ears. Leo felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders as he led the girls to safety. They could hear the guards shouting behind them, the chaos growing louder. As they reached the edge of the creek, Leo quickly jumped into the water, motioning for the others to follow. The water was cold, but it provided a much-needed shield. They submerged themselves, keeping their heads just above the surface as they floated downstream. "Keep quiet," Leo whispered, glancing back toward the camp. The guards were searching the area, their voices growing fainter as the distance increased. They floated along the creek for what felt like hours, moving quietly as they tried to put as much distance between themselves and the camp as possible. Finally, Leo felt it was safe enough to pull them all to the shore. They crawled out of the water, shivering but relieved. "That was close," one of the girls exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear and excitement. Zara turned to Leo, her expression grateful. "We did it. We actually did it." Leo smiled, feeling a wave of pride wash over him. "We're not out of the woods yet. We need to find a safe place to hide until we can regroup." They moved further away from the creek, taking shelter in a thicket of bushes. Leo quickly scanned the area for any signs of danger. "We need to rest for a bit," he said, looking at the exhausted girls. "You've all been through so much." As they caught their breath, Zora looked at the other girls, her heart swelling with emotion. "You're all safe now. We'll find a way to get you home." One of the girls, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "But how? They'll come looking for us." Leo took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their situation. "We'll stay hidden until it's safe to move. I know the area, and I promise to keep you all safe." Zara nodded, her resolve strong. "Together, we can find a way to escape and get back to our homes. We won't give up." Leo looked around at the group, feeling a sense of unity among them. They were no longer just a few individuals caught in a dangerous world. They had become a team. They had fought for each other, and together they would face whatever came next. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the trees, Leo felt a new hope blossoming inside him. They had succeeded in the rescue, but the journey was far from over. Together, they would find their way to safety and fight for their future. The escape. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest, Leo and Zara gathered the rescued girls in their small hiding place. The adrenaline of the rescue had faded, and now exhaustion weighed heavily on everyone. They needed a plan to escape the camp and find safety. "We can't stay here for long," Leo said, glancing around the thicket. "The guards will eventually realize we're gone and start searching the area." Zara nodded, her expression serious. "We need to get as far away as possible before they come looking for us. I remember seeing a small village not too far from here. It might be a good place to hide." "Let's head there," then Leo replied, feeling a flicker of hope. "But we need to be careful. The woods can be dangerous at night, and the guards might still be searching." The girls listened intently, and Leo could see the determination in their eyes. They were scared but willing to follow him. He felt a strong sense of responsibility for their safety. He couldn't let them down. "All right, everyone," Leo said, gathering their attention. "We're going to move quietly and stick together. Zara will lead the way. If you see or hear anything suspicious, signal to us. We'll stay close and help each other." With a collective nod, they began their journey through the darkening woods. The sound of crunching leaves filled the air as they moved carefully, their senses heightened. Leo stayed at the back, keeping watch for any signs of danger. As they moved deeper into the forest, the night grew colder and the trees whispered in the wind. Leo felt a chill run down his spine. Every rustle made him jump, but he forced himself to stay calm for the sake of the girls. He could see their fear, but he also saw their bravery. They were fighting for their freedom. After a while, they reached a small clearing. Zora paused, looking around. "I think we're getting close to the village," she whispered. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from behind them. Leo turned quickly, his heart racing. "Did you hear that?" he asked, eyes wide. "Yes, it sounded like a branch breaking," one of the girls said, her voice trembling. Leo took a deep breath. "We need to move now." They rushed through the clearing, pushing through the dense brush as they heard voices in the distance. The guards were coming. The sound of their footsteps grew louder, and panic surged through Leo. They had to reach the village before the guards found them. "Keep going," Leo urged, leading the girls as fast as they could through the underbrush. The trees began to thin out, and he spotted a flicker of light in the distance. "There, the village is up ahead," Zora exclaimed, pointing toward the glow. Just as they broke through the last line of trees, Leo heard shouts behind them. "They're over there," a guard yelled. "Get them." Leo's heart raced as he pushed the girls forward. They sprinted toward the village, the warmth of the lights growing brighter. As they entered the village, the streets were quiet, but they could see shadows moving in the windows. Leo quickly looked back, seeing the guards still in pursuit. "We need to find somewhere to hide," he shouted. They ducked into a small alleyway between two houses, pressing against the cool stone walls. Leo could hear the guards approaching, their voices angry and frantic. "Split up. They can't have gone far," one of them yelled. Leo's breath quickened. "We have to stay quiet," he whispered, fear etched on his face. Moments later, the guards passed their hiding spot, their footsteps echoing into the night. Leo held his breath, praying they wouldn't find them. When the sounds finally faded, he turned to Zara and the girls, his voice barely a whisper. "I think we're safe for now, but we can't stay here long." Zara nodded, her eyes bright with determination. "We can find a friendly house to ask for help. We'll be safe soon." With renewed hope, they slipped out of the alley and moved deeper into the village, ready to seek refuge and find a way to ensure their safety. Together, they had escaped, but their journey was far from over. The revelation. As Leo and the girls cautiously made their way through the quiet village, the streets felt foreign and strange. The houses were small, made of wood and stone, with soft lights flickering in the windows. It was a world far removed from the chaos they had just escaped. "Do you think anyone here will help us?" one of the girls asked, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Zara nodded, her expression determined. "I believe so. We just need to find someone who will listen to our story." Leo glanced around, scanning the streets for signs of life. Suddenly, he spotted a figure moving in the shadows near a small, welcoming house at the end of the lane. "There," he whispered, "let's try that house." They approached cautiously, and Leo knocked softly on the door. The wood was warm beneath his hand, and he felt a mix of hope and fear. Moments later, the door creaked open, revealing an elderly woman with kind eyes. "What brings you here, children?" she asked, her voice gentle but filled with concern. "Please, we need help," Leo said quickly. "We escaped from a camp where they were keeping us captive. The guards are searching for us. Can you hide us?" The woman's eyes widened with surprise and fear, but she stepped aside and gestured for them to enter. "Come in quickly, then. You'll be safe here." Once inside, Leo breathed a sigh of relief. The cozy room was filled with warm colors and soft furnishings. A fire crackled in the corner, filling the space with a comforting glow. "Thank you," Zora said, her voice shaking slightly. "We thought we'd never be safe again." The woman looked at them kindly. "You're safe for now, but we must be cautious. Those guards are ruthless. You cannot stay here for long." Leo nodded, understanding the urgency. "We'll figure something out," he said. "We need to know how to get out of the area without being caught." As they settled in, the woman introduced herself as Mira. She brought them warm tea and bread, which the girls accepted gratefully. They were tired, hungry, and in desperate need of comfort after their harrowing escape. While they ate, Leo shared their story, explaining everything that had happened from the moment they were captured to their daring escape from the camp. The more he spoke, the more Mira's expression changed from shock to deep concern. "I knew things were getting worse," she said, shaking her head, "but I never imagined it was this bad. The guards have been growing bolder. They've taken many innocent people." After they finished eating, Zara turned to Mira, her eyes filled with determination. "We want to do more than just hide. We want to help others who are still trapped. How can we fight back?" Mira looked thoughtful for a moment. "There are others in this village who want to help. Some have lost family to the same guards who captured you. If you're willing, I can gather them for a meeting. We can form a plan together." Leo felt a surge of hope. "Yes, if we can unite our strengths, we can make a difference." Mira nodded and stood up, moving to the door. "I'll be back soon. Stay hidden, and don't make a sound." As she left, Leo turned to Zara and the other girls. "This could be our chance. We can fight back against the guards and save others like us." Zara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We've come this far. We can't stop now." As they waited in the warm house, Leo's mind raced with possibilities. They had gone from being captives to becoming a team ready to stand up against their oppressors. They would no longer be victims. They would become heroes in their own story. Mira returned shortly, accompanied by several villagers. They looked serious but determined, ready to hear their tale and to plan for a brighter future. "Thank you for coming," Mira said to the group. "These brave children have escaped a terrible fate, and now we must work together to save others." Leo felt a wave of hope wash over him. They were not alone anymore. Together, they would face the challenges ahead and fight for their freedom, and the freedom of those still trapped in darkness. The revelation that they could make a difference ignited a fire within him, and he knew they were on the brink of something great. The confrontation. The following day, Leo and the villagers gathered in Mira's home. The atmosphere was tense but filled with determination. The plan was set. They would confront the guards and free any remaining captives from the camp. Leo felt a mix of fear and excitement as he looked around the room, seeing the faces of those who were willing to fight alongside them. "Listen up," Leo said, addressing the group. "We can't just rush in blindly. We need to be smart and work together. Zara, can you remind everyone about the layout of the camp?" Zara nodded, stepping forward. "I noticed the guards change shifts every few hours. There's a weak spot on the east side where the wall is lower. If we can create a distraction there, it will give us a chance to get inside." One of the villagers, a tall man named Jarek, raised his hand. "And what about the weapons? We need to defend ourselves when the guards find out we're there." "I have some old tools in my shed," Mira said. "They won't be much, but we can use them to defend ourselves if needed. I'll gather them." As Mira prepared, Leo's heart raced. They were about to confront the very people who had caused them so much pain. He glanced at Zara, who looked back at him with fierce determination. They were in this together. Once Mira returned with the tools, mostly makeshift weapons like clubs and sharp sticks, Leo distributed them among the group. Everyone took a moment to grip their weapons, finding strength in their solidarity. "Let's move," Leo said, feeling the surge of bravery. They left the warmth of Mira's home and stepped into the cool morning air, ready to face the guards. As they made their way through the village, Leo felt a knot in his stomach. What if they failed? What if they lost everything? But he pushed those thoughts aside. This was their chance to take back their lives. They reached the edge of the forest, where the camp loomed in the distance. The smoke from the previous day's fire still hung in the air, a reminder of their escape. Leo could see guards patrolling the area, their faces hard and unyielding. "Zara, stay close to me," Leo whispered as they huddled behind a row of trees. "We need to be quick and silent." Zara nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. "I'm ready." With a deep breath, Leo turned to the group. "On my signal, we'll create the distraction. Jarek, you and a few others will make noise on the west side. The rest of us will sneak around to the east." The villagers nodded, their faces filled with resolve. They moved into position, and Leo counted down silently in his head. 3, 2, 1, go. Jarek and his group ran toward the west side of the camp, shouting and banging the makeshift weapons together. The guards turned, their attention drawn away from the east side. Leo felt a rush of adrenaline as he and the others darted toward the lower wall. "Now," Leo shouted, and they climbed over the wall, landing softly on the other side. They quickly regrouped behind a set of tents, heartbeats echoing in their ears. Leo looked around, searching for signs of the captured girls. He could see guards running toward the noise, leaving their posts unguarded. "Let's find them," Zora urged, determination burning in her eyes. They moved through the tents, quickly checking each one. The air was thick with tension, but Leo felt a sense of purpose. They were doing this for the girls, for their freedom. Suddenly, they heard voices nearby. "They've escaped. Find them," a guard shouted. "Quick, hide," Leo commanded, and they ducked behind a nearby barrel. As the guards passed, Leo held his breath, The fear was palpable, but he knew they had come too far to turn back now. Once the guards moved on, Leo felt a surge of courage. We need to keep moving. They won't be distracted for long. As they continued searching, Leo realized that they were not just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for their future. The confrontation was not just about facing the guards. It was about reclaiming their right to live freely together. The new dawn. The camp was in chaos. The guards were scrambling to regain control, but Leo and his group had the upper hand. The sound of clashing weapons and angry shouts filled the air as they fought to rescue the remaining captives. Leo felt adrenaline surge through him, pushing him to fight harder for their freedom. "Over here," Zora shouted, pointing to a row of cages at the back of the camp. "That's where they're keeping the girls." Leo nodded, determination in his eyes. "Let's go." They dashed toward the cages, ducking behind barrels and crates to avoid the guard sights. As they reached the cages, they could see the frightened faces of the captured girls inside. They were huddled together, eyes wide with fear. Leo quickly checked the locks on the cages. "Stay calm. We're here to rescue you," he called out. With the old tools Mira had given them, Leo worked quickly. The lock clicked open, and the door swung wide. The girls rushed out, tears of relief streaming down their faces. "Thank you. Thank you," one girl cried, wrapping her arms around Leo. "Let's move," Zora urged, glancing over her shoulder. The guards were starting to notice the commotion. As more girls escaped, Leo felt a sense of purpose filling him. They had come together as a team, united by their shared fight for freedom. "Follow us. We need to get out of here," he shouted, leading the group toward the camp's exit. They burst through the back of the camp, the sounds of battle fading behind them as they ran toward the trees. Just as they reached the edge of the forest, a loud shout rang out from behind. "Stop! You can't escape." Leo turned to see a group of guards rushing after them, their faces filled with anger and determination. Fear gripped his heart, but he knew they couldn't give up now. "Keep running. We can't look back," Zora shouted, her voice cutting through the fear. They sprinted into the woods, the trees closing in around them. Leo led the way, pushing through the underbrush. They ran deeper into the forest, the sound of their heartbeats matching the rhythm of their pounding feet. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they stopped to catch their breath. The trees surrounded them, providing cover and safety. "We made it," one of the girls gasped, leaning against a tree. But Leo knew they weren't safe yet. "We have to keep moving until we're far away from the camp. They'll send more guards after us." "Which way do we go?" Zora asked, looking around. Leo thought for a moment, recalling the path he had taken before. "If we head north, we can reach the river. It should lead us back to the village." With a renewed sense of purpose, they began to move again, this time at a steadier pace. The weight of the rescue began to settle in, and Leo felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. After a few hours of walking, the sound of rushing water filled the air. They broke through the last line of trees and found themselves standing at the edge of the river, its waters sparkling in the afternoon light. "This is it," Leo exclaimed, smiling at the sight. "We're almost home." As they followed the river upstream, they could see the village coming into view. The warmth of the sun on their faces felt like a new beginning. They had fought hard, and now they were free. Once they reached the village, the villagers greeted them with open arms. Mira rushed to them, her face filled with joy and relief. "You did it. You really did it." Leo felt a swell of pride in his chest. They had faced unimaginable challenges, but they had emerged victorious. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Leo stood with Zora and the rescued girls, looking out over the village. They had fought for their freedom, and now they would build a new life together. "This is just the beginning," Zora said softly, her eyes shining with hope. Leo nodded, knowing that they had each other, and together They would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The dawn of a new day had arrived, filled with promise and possibilities.